for almost 9 years, and I've been an administrator for about 13. So there we go. Recording in progress. Got it. Okay. So this is building school culture with a house system. I started at Vickery a little over 5 years ago, and I had been hoping to start a house system with my previous campus. And when I got here, the teachers were already kind of posing it as a possibility, and I said, let's do it. So we kind of put it in right away. This presentation is designed for, well, anybody, but certainly if you either have a house system or you're thinking about putting one in. And then obviously we'll talk about how LiveSchool has been really beneficial for us, and checking our house points and just making sure the whole system works. So there we go. So like I said, we'll start with a little bit of background about Vickery. We'll talk about what we did in that first year, how we try to incorporate houses on a regular basis, including annual steps and events and celebrations. We'll talk about how we use LiveSchool, any missteps we made, any challenges that we have, and then just what we see as the benefits of the house system and of tracking our points. It's mad at me. There we go. So about Vickery's houses, we have 5. Let's make sure. Oh, there we go. My clicker's not clicking. A little bit about Vickery. We, like I said, are in Flower Mound, Texas. That is north of the Dallas area. We are a K-5 dual language campus. About half of our students are in dual language. So that's about, we're in the low 6s, so about half of them. We are definitely a Title I campus. We have about 80% of our students are on free and reduced lunch, and it's a very diverse campus. We have about 13 home languages. We have a great PTA, students with a variety of experiences. And of course, as is the case with a lot of Title I schools, while we have great parents and great support, it's not necessarily flowing in. So we're always looking for ways to try to get more. And we are the Voyagers. That is our mascot. So a little bit about our houses. Like I said, we are the Voyagers, so we thought it would be fun to make our houses named after constellations. So the 5 that we picked are right there: Delphinus, Draco, Leo, Pegasus, and Phoenix. Each one is associated with a couple of colors, and then it also has a character trait. So if you're in the chat and you feel like it, you could certainly take a look at those and imagine, if you were a Vickery Voyager, which one of those would suit you the best. I'm in House Delphinus, as you could see from the guy wearing the dolphin costume in the picture right there. And that is Astro, our mascot. He's in all the houses. He's everybody's friend. Great. So we have a little video here. This is an idea of one of our rocket rallies, our pep rallies that we have. This one's from a couple of years ago, but this is definitely how they look and how they feel. Let's see if this works. Nope, not again. Once is enough. So you get the idea. Obviously, a pep rally is an extra special affair, and it has more cheer than just your average day. But I think that video captures what we try to bring in terms of how the houses are used at our campus, how the students and the teachers rally behind them. And when you get excited about an idea and you can build that excitement in the students, it usually takes a life of its own, and you find a lot of leaders who will take over. So these are the initial steps that we took when we decided to implement. I quickly identified what I call the coalition of the willing, those teachers who were super excited about it, who I knew would be leaders. Definitely a lot of input from them on what the fun things were, the names of the houses, the colors, the bells and the whistles, all the things that definitely hook everybody in. We had an initial house reveal during our August in service with staff, and they were placed in their houses. And that, gave us time for them to make their posters and create the chants and the gestures and everything, so that, it really felt like something that they owned. We had a lot of friendly competition. I'm sure if you're an administrator, you have your little, games where the teachers are competing, and we usually do ours by house so that they can build that up. And then, of course, we got, staff shirts every year, and we used, the first couple of years, you got the ones that were your house's colors. So that made it a lot more fun. So if in the chat, if you feel like it, if you do have houses, or if you have thought about it, what would you name yours after, and what would that look like? I'd be very curious to see what other people do, because I only know what I do. Here's an example of one of our houses. This is House Draco with those fancy color coordinated shirts that they have. A little bit about how we place the students. So really depends on the size of the school. I've been at I've given other presentations where they've said actually they have 6 houses and that works for them. So, whatever works for you, but we have 5. When we placed them initially, we really kind of explored 2 different options. One was what we ended up doing, which was option 1, which is to have that first year to have the entire homeroom in the same house. So that way, like, that teacher was that house, those students were that house, and it kind of created that initial bond, almost like a team feel. And then as they got older and they went to different classes, they naturally dispersed. So really it depends on how many sections you have of each grade level. There's lots of factors, but if you can pull it off, we really like that. And it kind of was a nice way to transition in. But of course, the other way is, you can Harry Potter it, and you could get a sorting hat, or you can do whatever random thing you'd like to do, and ease those, not ease them in, just kind of start right away. But I don't think there's a wrong answer, but those were the 2 that we've kind of considered. Obviously, the upkeep of having a house system is something we think about. I definitely have assigned staff members who, when we get a new student or if somebody leaves, they know they're triggered to do the thing they have to do, so that we don't leave anybody out by mistake. But we have an annual sorting ceremony for our kindergartners, and for any new students, we don't use a sorting hat. We have a space helmet, so that way it's a little more on theme. And then things that we thought about, you could have a wheel spin or some kind of sorting hat, like I said. You could simply assign them, or you could let the students decide, depending on the size of the campus. And then we create a master spreadsheet. We sort it by house. We also have tabs by grade, just so that, even though it is a bit of upkeep, that way it's all in one spot. And when we do upload it to LiveSchool, so that we can assign our points that way, it just makes it easy to have everything in one place. So that's really helpful. And just, if you're like my school, if a kid leaves, don't delete them, because they will be back, because that's usually the way it works. So, maybe just cross that out, but don't actually get rid of it. Here's our sorting helmet right there. And there's the one year we had the ceremony with the little guys, and so they were waiting their turn to pick their little name out of the hat. So here's a couple more examples of how we incorporate houses at our school. It's something that, especially during COVID, it was really hard to maintain. It was something that was easy to drop, just because it is, quote unquote, extra. But we really, now that that's quote unquote over, we are trying to really just bring it back in as much as we can. So we have our rocket rallies. You saw a video of that. The students, our school is now too large for everyone to be at a pep rally at once. So we divide them by grade, and we do them for them, it's every 6 weeks. For us doing it, it's every 3 weeks, because we're alternating. They don't sit with their homerooms, they sit by house, they dress it up. The students and teachers make signs. You can see the decorations and the costumes. So it's really fun. They have their chants that they memorize or that they know, and we show those on the screen so they can do those. My PE teacher and the rest of my specials team do a great job of coming up with minute to win it games where they're competing against each other. And we always have our spirit cones that, like in that top left picture, where they've awarded them to whether it's students or teachers or parents that have come that day, who really showed the most spirit and were going above and beyond. So there you go. And we do have our older students. It's a good leadership opportunity for them to either lead the pep rallies for the younger kids, or at least to help cheer them on and be, leading by example. When you're not in your house meeting, or in the rocket rally, but somebody else is, we have our house meetings. So for example, if 3 through 5 is in their rocket rally, then K through 2 use that same time to just have a house meeting, which has taken different forms over the years, but it's a great time to practice those chants, do some kind of craft or some kind of activity, anything related to our house that is fun. They've done like origami with the different animals that our houses are. So really, we have a committee of teachers that come up with those activities to try to keep it fresh and think of things that would be good for all grades. And when we can, we try to mix that as well, so that maybe some older kids and some younger kids are working together.
Hey, Adam, when you're in those house meetings, is that where do you get like build in some student leadership there, or do they help you like come up with chants and those kind of things?
It really depends. Pre-COVID, there was a lot more mixing and there was a lot more opportunities like that. And then as we kind of eased out, we kind of, to be honest, got in the habit of like either the homeroom teacher or just within that grade level is kind of leading it. So this year we really are trying to kind of get back to where we were. We've discussed a lot of options for later this year to reintroduce those, where it's the older kids maybe doing that. They're the ones leading the activities. So that was certainly the initial way. And then it just kind of, it was a challenge when you had to really limit how you mixed kids and to keep them in their pods and all that. But we are getting back to that. So good question. Another thing we do is we have a wheel spin. So you can see the big old wheel there. My assistant principal does a great job with this. She has a spreadsheet where teachers can recognize students who have really been demonstrating the character traits and the house traits that we value, and they get to be recognized during lunch and spin that wheel and earn extra points for their house during, through LiveSchool. So that is great as well. We have a house cup. So if you have earned the most house points over those 9 weeks, you get your little banner. You also get to have an extra recess. We kind of went back and forth with different prizes for a while, but it's hard to beat Chick-fil-A. Oh, I clicked and it didn't click. There we go. So there's, I think that was House Leo, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was. And they had won the house cup for those 9 weeks. So they got to have an extra recess and have chicken. So, if you don't have Chick-fil-A where you are, that's pretty good. And of course, we look for more opportunities, whether it's field day or the fun run. It's the shirts maybe that our PTA orders for kids that they can purchase, our 9-week awards. We're just always looking for ways to incorporate our houses and not let it be something that is like a focal point of our school and not an afterthought or something that just gets tacked on at the end. So these are various pictures of events or things that were centered around our houses. There we go. Ooh. You know what? I might just click it the old-fashioned way. There we go. So here's how we use LiveSchool. This is how we award and keep track of our points. We did explore other options, and we are happy with LiveSchool. We think it's been dependable for us, and so we come back to it each year. As I'm sure you can see from the website, there's different options in terms of payment and resources that come with it. If we had all the money in the world, we would definitely get one of the other ones, but we've been pretty happy with what's called the light package, where we get accounts for all of our teachers and some additional staff as well. We get support creating our rosters. We get ongoing help whenever we need it. It's very responsive. What we do is we can also see some basic data in terms of how recently different teachers have logged on to make sure everyone's participating. And then what's probably most important is we get to really customize how we are giving those points. What is it that we're valuing as a school? And LiveSchool has a really good rubric for that. So here's an example of just a screenshot of teachers logging on, so I can see at a glance kind of how long it's been. If those teachers are watching, don't worry, you're not in trouble. That's like old data from like 3 years ago. And then a couple tips from us. And again, we're not the professionals, we don't run it, but this is just kind of what we've discovered that works for us. If your district is like mine, they take very seriously the sharing of student data, making sure there's nothing that would endanger the privacy of the students or their families. So what we do is we don't even do the last names in LiveSchool. Like if I were a student, it would be Adam, and then my last name would just be G, and then my house and my grade. So that it's not, we don't have to worry that that's accidentally being leaked. I can show this presentation and not worry that we're sharing anybody's information. For us, it just keeps it really clean, and LiveSchool has been really great about working with us to set it up the way we want. I also created like an extra grade that just has the houses. So like those minute to win it games, like if it wasn't a specific student who earned that point, that way I could just give it to that house that got that point. So that's just another extra little tip if you end up using it. Here's that rubric that I was talking about. So these are the different ways that our students can earn points. There's a whole category related to respect, to school rules, and these come from our document that is posted around our building that the students and the teachers are familiar with. Etiquette and manners, of course, and then we do have those house traits. So if you see a student demonstrating one of those traits that we value, that you can just get out your phone and instantaneously give them a point. So it works really well. Jordan, any questions or anything you want to add?
Yeah, I had one question on house traits because that one kind of jumped out at me. I like that idea. If I am in the Leo house and I show creativity, do I still get the point?
You do. So the nice thing is the student's profile is linked to their house. So no matter the reason you are getting the point, like it goes to your record, like you can show how many you've gotten, and it goes to the house that you represent. So you don't have to worry that you're feeding the other team points or anything. It's all yours.
Cool. How did you talked about at the beginning the that coalition of the willing? Did they help you create the rubric and those kind of things?
Yeah, really the teachers, all of them, but obviously some are like more like insistent with their ideas in a good way, and so we definitely got feedback on all aspects of it. We do have a house committee each year. I'm sure most schools have a committee. There's a committee for this and that, and we always have a house committee, and so we meet several times a year, and we just kind of go over the things we have and make sure that we want to add or take away or tweak something. That committee is perfect for that, and they're the same ones who come up with those activities for the house meetings and help plan our rocket rallies. So that's how we do that. Here is the LiveSchool screen where we can display our points. So I will every morning go to the cafeteria. I'll connect to the computer and put it on the TV we have in there. So as students walk in for lunch, or if they're just coming in, beginning of the day, end of day, they can kind of see how their house is doing. And it's fun because if you get a point, like it makes a doing, and then you can see the clicker go up one, and you can see the name of the student who got it. So it's definitely something that's motivating for them if they see themselves and their friends getting it. There we go. Oh, there we go. So one person's missteps is somebody else's successes. So I wouldn't say that none of these things could work for anybody, but as we went through our process, just some things that we tried that didn't necessarily work, so it might save you some time. We tried using the house points through LiveSchool, or even before we had LiveSchool, as like a school-wide currency, and it was just too much to manage. There was a school store, but then some teachers would be very generous with their points, and some teachers were a little more frugal, and so it didn't really seem fair that some kids had more than others. So we use it really just as that group goal. We will definitely recognize individual students for having a lot of house points at pep rallies or on the announcements or something like that. But really, it is that group goal that we've decided to focus on with the house points. The one year we went to our specials rotations, like PE and music by house and not by classroom, which wasn't a disaster, but then those kids were kind of like always with each other every year as they went on, and some of them just were kind of that group that the teachers would go, oh, it's that day for that class, and so it was better to kind of resort them and make it a little fresh every year. So we decided not to do that. We had gone to the Ron Clark Academy. I took some teachers there as we were starting our house system, and one thing that they do really well there in Atlanta is like do things live. Everybody come, everybody watches a wheel spin. Our school's a lot bigger, and it's just not designed that way. So we tried live streaming a lot of things, and it was just hard for us to manage. You've got a sub, and they're not live streaming it. You've got a classroom where the Wi-Fi is out, they can't do it, or just things happen. Teachers are busy and they're pulled in many directions at once. So we ended up just kind of recording things, and people can watch them at their leisure. And then I also, for a long time, was like obsessed with, like, on every grade level, I have to have one teacher of each house so they can be the leader. And teachers want to have a house that's theirs, and they don't have to switch all the time. So I just had to let that go eventually. And if one grade level has 3 of those and none of those, then it's okay. They're still great teachers, and they can let go of their house loyalties for 5 minutes and lead a meeting of a different house or something like that. So again, these are things that didn't work for us, but they might for you. So I don't know. Give it a try. Challenges. The staff definitely is on board, but with like anything, you're going to have different levels of buy-in. So making sure that everybody's participating and buying in at least close to equally, finding rewards and recognition that appeal to all students. What motivates a 5-year-old isn't going to be what motivates a 10-year-old necessarily. So you got to always look at that and tweak that. And like I said before, the house system can be something that's easy to drop if you don't really pay attention to it. So just kind of seeing your school through that house filter and, making your decisions kind of with that in mind. Houses are primarily fun. So if you focus too much on it, you might lose sight of the academics. And so just always keeping track of that. And then, like I said before, COVID was a huge challenge. This video is mildly embarrassing because I'm the one making all the noises, but we're here, right? So let's do it. This is just kind of a little compilation of some of the videos that we did when students were home. So to just try to keep that house system going and connect, even though we weren't in the same building. So we would still do a wheel spin. We would still get the teachers together on Zoom or WebEx. So there you go.
Bro, it's good to see you. Sorry, Esther, but we're not in there right now. Students are learning from home because that's the safest thing right now. I'm really sorry. Well, I mean, would it make you feel better to help with our wheel spin this week? I mean, I could send it to you with the power of my mind. Hello, Vickery Voyagers. This is House Delphina. Say hi, House Delphina. You all know that we're the best house. I'm representing my colors as well. We are going to spin 2 times to try to get some house points this week. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you are going to see the names of the students who have earned at least 4 house points this week for doing their mission. So congratulations to all those students. Spin number 2. Hello, Vickery Voyagers. This is Mr. Gray. We've got some of our other teachers. We've got Miss Cook from House Phoenix. Was that a chicken?
All right. So for today, our Vickery wheel spin will be here at my house. My name is Allison, and we are going to do a Lego version of the wheel spin. So here's House Draco, House Leo.
There you go. A couple of things watching that video. I think I wore a hoodie for about 1.5 years. That's my takeaway there. And just that it was something that was able to kind of still unite us, even though we were learning apart. So it was a lot of fun. And I will not do that voice for you guys now, but that is me. Oh, you don't want to hear it again. And there we go. Some benefits that we've seen. We definitely feel like the benefits far outweigh the challenges. That's why we keep doing it. It is a universal system to just recognize the traits that we want to and to reward and celebrate students and staff. It does create a lot of unique connections between students and staff that might not have those otherwise. You know, perhaps they're in the same house, but not in the same homeroom. So, you know, they build some bonds that way. It is an increased opportunity for leadership among our students. It's a great recruitment strategy. I can't tell you how many times I've been interviewing a teacher who might be choosing from among several schools, especially in the current job climate, right? And like they come in already having looked at our webpage, looked at our Facebook page, and they're excited to be a part of that house system. So it's something that is genuine and authentic, but it also is very attractive to the teachers who are really looking for that kind of energy in a school. And I think the house system is just a really great way to show that in a very real way. And of course, I got to meet an actual real Pegasus. So that's an actual miniature horse that my old PE teacher, whose family has a farm, he actually built Pegasus wings, attached them to the miniature horse, and brought them in during one of our pep rallies. So that is a real Pegasus, which I didn't know existed until that happened. So that was pretty exciting. And it did not poop on the floor. So I was very worried about that, but no, poop-free environment. And I think that's it. I'm pretty close. That's my contact information. If anybody has any questions, we love talking about our house system. We're always happy to help. We believe if something's working, you should share it with other people. There's no reason not to try to help everybody be successful. That's our Facebook page if you'd like to check it out. And if you are looking for us on Twitter, I Love Vickery is probably the best way to look for our school and the things that we do. So Jordan, I think, yeah, that was the last slide. I think I'm done.
Yeah. So guys, we've got a few minutes here for questions for Adam. So if you've got questions from the presentation or just houses in general, now's a great time. I'll kind of lead us off because I had an interesting question that came up. because you mentioned, talking about things through a house filter.
Mm.
Can you expand on that, like a little bit about like, how do you communicate with like parents and those kind of things?
Right. No, because it's, when I talk about that house filter, it's, are we doing something that could be modified to, go through the houses instead of not including them? So, if we're doing our fun run, if we're doing our field day, if we're just having our annual t-shirts or whatever it is, are we at least considering the possibility of doing that through houses to continue to build that? So we don't, school's a busy and complicated place. Not everything we do has something to do with our house system, but we always try to consider that. LiveSchool also has a lot of really easy to print letters where you can send those home to parents. They can track how many house points that their kids have and what they've gotten them for. So that is another way that we try to use LiveSchool and to also connect our house system to our parents so that they can see that it's something that's working. Of course, we make our own videos and share them with parents, and we make sure that our Facebook and our call outs are, just showing the fun things that happen in our school in addition to the academics, which are also hopefully fun, but sometimes they're not.
So we talked about your rubric and like some of the traits you guys are tracking and reinforcing. What kind of impacts that had on behavior in your building?
I think it's great. It creates like a common way for us to speak. It's terms that we all understand. The kids all know, certainly the older ones, which houses represent which traits, and that's a part of an ongoing conversation that we have. Every school has discipline issues. I think the combination of the house system with restorative practices that we really put into place and having teachers buy into the idea that while of course sometimes students need a consequence, things happen that they do. I could take a couple from today, but typically if you kind of front load with kindness, with problem solving, with some conflict management, with some team building activities where the students really know each other, they have that buy-in, they create perhaps a treatment agreement, or they just understand how their behavior can affect others. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but we really have seen our discipline referrals go down over the years. They went down really far during COVID, and then naturally they bounced back up a little bit. But when we look at our statistics, we are really happy. We do feel like those things are making a difference. And I think the rubric, I think the house points in general, and then I think those restorative practices all really contribute. And of course, the teachers are amazing, and they really set the tone for everybody. So I think those are the keys.
So you mentioned restorative practices. Do you guys do like circles and those kind of things? Does that come into play with house meetings at all, or anyway?
It does. The first 15 minutes of our schedule, while they're coming in, they're making their lunch choices, they're turning all their stuff in, we do have dedicated to restorative practices. So again, we don't micromanage here. Teachers know the expectations and they know the flexibility they have to do certain things. So you don't need to have a circle every day. You don't need to have a spark every day, but we have a committee that's also dedicated to that and to making sure that it is being done, widely throughout the campus. So, it might be where we just ask a simple question. It might be a quick game at the beginning. But really the focus there is to build relationships, not just teacher to student, but also student to student, so that when you are in that moment where you can make this choice or you can make that choice, like it begins to sink in that, it's not for the greater good. It's not, you're damaging those relationships if you make the other one. So again, not perfect, nothing's perfect. But we really do feel like the students that have been here for a long time, the students that have drunk the Kool-Aid and have lived through this for a while now, especially those students, it really does seem to benefit them.
Yeah, I could see those things working together really well. And you're trying to build empathy and try to repair harm for situations, and at the same time you're trying to earn points with your mm-hmm. house, and you're kind of building empathy and respect for others that way too. So I can see those things meshing together really well.
They do, and we have two amazing counselors who do guidance lessons and support as well, and they have their own curriculum. So yeah, I think when everything is running really well, it really does limit those types of issues that we have.
The last thing I circled, and then I promise if anybody else has got questions, they can jump in. I wrote down a bunch of notes because you said some interesting things, Adam. The recruitment piece. How much does that come into play when in the spring when you're trying to fill spots and those kind of things?
It wasn't something that I anticipated when we started our house system. It wasn't something that I was like, oh, what a great idea to get some great teachers. But the teachers who do their homework, who know that in the current job market, they really do have a lot of choice, who are looking for a school that fits their personality, fits their passion, fits the reason why they got into education in the first place. When they see that we do celebrate those things, and that, you know, as a campus, we try to incorporate the fun, we try to keep it positive, and that, you know, for a lot of them, that's something they want to be a part of. So I don't have to do much. I'm not saying I don't, you know, sometimes have vacancies. It's a tough market out there, but quite often they will come in already having decided that this might be a school that they want to work at, and that little extra push, you know, gets them in. So if those teachers are watching, thanks for coming.
You guys, do you set goals around behavior or community building that like you then reinforce with houses throughout the year?
We do. Like I said, we have with lots of committees. We have that discipline and restorative practices committee. We actually just met this week, and we looked at our numbers from last year and you know, targeted some areas where we could grow. And again, it's not just the house system. We also have student council, we have advisory committee, and we all kind of get together to, you know, try to focus in on what those might be. Just for example, we noticed from our data last year that like 75% of our office referrals were from our male students. And while, you know, every school is different, and perhaps that's the norm to have slightly more boys than girls getting in trouble, we just felt like that data was really out of skew. So, you know, we were kind of looking at ways that we can maybe get some boys groups together, do that through houses, you know, identify a couple boys in each class that could maybe use some kind of positive mentor system or thing like that. So, you know, we do get together and look at that. And anything that's kind of that whole house, you know, where the house color glasses, right? Anytime you're discussing those kind of things, you do want to say, okay, how can our house system complement that? And at times it can't, or I didn't think of how, or no one else did, but at times it definitely can, and we try to use it for that.
That's interesting. I could see and you could you can build in more leadership examples. You could have them be involved in the minute to win it stuff. Like you can, you know, incentivize those boys in your classes that way too. That's cool.
Right. And I mean, even some of the pictures that we've been showing, a couple here, let's see, if I go back too far, I'll have to watch that video again. But there were definitely a lot where they did feature some older kids. That one, that's good. Here, I mean, you can see a lot of the older students in that bottom picture. That is the pep rally for the K through 2, but you can see some of those kids are clearly not kinder through 2nd grade. They're the ones who come in, it's like 3 or 4 per house, and they help those little ones, you know, through the games or what have you, and they lead the cheers, they stand up, they're the ones that are loud. So we do that when we have our house sorting activity. You know, it's kids that come in and they do the cheering, and it's pretty great.
I've found that kind of thing, that's an awesome reward for kids. It's, I mean, pretty much free, and it's a good opportunity for them as well. We had a great question from Rhonda Lopez in the chat. She asked about funding activities and incentives. It looks like a lot of these things are probably free because they're things to do instead of things to get. But how do you fund the things you do?
Yeah, you know, like I said, we are a Title I school, so we do have some of those funds available to help with things throughout the year, as long as they benefit the majority of students and we follow all the rules for spending Title I money, which of course we do. So that's one way, but we really tried to not do a lot of things that cost money. Most of the things can be paid for through our general budget. My secretary is very crafty, and she always finds a way to get me what I need, so she's really helpful there. And a lot of things are donations, or they are those types of things that really don't cost any money, or just minimal money, or utilizing things that we have on campus. For a while we had a school store, and I'm not against that. I'm sure it works for a lot of people, but you know, that was a little expensive to stock, and we just decided that wasn't the way to go. So, you know, if it is something that does cost money and we're just not seeing the payoff, then we don't do it. But also, you know, parent volunteers, they come in and help, and they support it. Obviously there's the cost associated with LiveSchool, but you know, once that's paid at the beginning of the year, it just makes everything so much easier to track everything that we've really found that it's worth it.
Do you how do you involve parents in like the pep rallies and those kind of things? Or do you...
So again, during COVID, it changed a little bit, and we had to really limit that. So we're, you know, kind of slowly opening up again. We, just because of space, you know, it's not everybody. If we have some kind of special group that's performing or being awarded something, then we certainly make a point of inviting those parents. And we've talked about this year, just kind of the equivalent of like a sign up genius, where they can plan ahead and the dates are all set. So we can kind of have a limited number for the ones who definitely want to come in. But certainly there's a lot who do, and it's really easy to get them in because it's fun, and it can be a little chaotic if you're not used to having 300 kids in a room chanting or screaming. But once you get used to that, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, Adam, we thank you very much for sharing. You've got a great thing going there, Vickery. And we appreciate your time. We appreciate you sharing the good work you are doing. Right now we're approaching time. If anybody's got any final questions, now's a good time to ask. If not, we will let you guys get back to it tonight.
Looks like we're good.
All right. Seeing none. Everybody have a great day. Look for an email from me this afternoon with a recording and some slides. Hope the school year is going great for y'all. Have a great one.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
George.
you,
Thanks,
Adam.
everyone. All right, bye.